So what up, dog?
Dude, it is raining again. I know that's a shock to you and Roger, but once again, it is raining here in central North Carolina, and again, it's I don't know how many days consecutively we've gotten rain, whether it's been just a little bit or a lot, like we got 2 weeks ago when we thought we were going to have to evacuate because of the dam possibly giving way. But it is rained and rained and I love it. If you're not watching our YouTube, you need to go watch our YouTube because Skynet has now taken over C3. Luke has a new toy and it's probably going to become sentient and it's going to kill him one day. And then it's going to come for us. And it's going to come for all of us. Luke got a new toy.
Let me just unmute. I don't know how loud that is. Roger's gonna have to I'm landing it right now.
Dude, our not Roger, our audio and video editing team department. That was really loud. He's gonna have a conniption about that. That's pretty cool though.
I go ahead about the rain, and then I'll get into this thing.
Oh no! So yeah, it's rained every day. We have a buddy of ours who he has done at least a mile of cardio, right? And so he's retired. All right, so this is kind of what makes it significant. He has done 1 mile of cardio every day, and I think he's on like 200 consecutive days now. And so whether it's rowing, running, biking, some swimming, whatever, he's done a mile of cardio every day, and I think we're on track with as many days as we receive rain as he is. It's nuts. It's absolutely crazy. I was actually, once I got done working out today in the garage doing my 10 by 10, it was squat day. So 10 by 10, back squats. I'm probably not going to be able to walk for the next couple of days. I was like, I'm going to go jump in the pool and, cool off because it's hot. It's hot. It's humid. And I get ready to go jump in the pool and I go outside and it's dark clouds, lightning's in the distance, thunder's in the distance. I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm, and then it rained. And I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm not getting in the pool today. So first world problems. So Luke's going to tell us about his first world problems about learning how to fly his new toy.
Well, it's been, I think we've been talking about it. It seems like we've been opening up the podcast, talking about weather, turning into old men, talking about the weather, food. But yeah, I think this is one of the wetter summers we've had here in the Panhandle in West Texas in quite some time. I can hear you clipping your nails. Jeez. Amateur hour today. But it hadn't rained in the past couple of days, but it's all off because the meteorologists, and they have the radar and everything, but a lot of meteorology goes off of past data, right? Comparing it, like what has it been like usually on this day, these types of conditions, what usually happens in the past 100 years. That's figured into their algorithm, It's a pretty big part of it actually. And this summer has been so strange that, meteorology is predicting nothing, as far as Apple weather and everything. And then that evening it'll rain 2 inches. It's a different pattern, but everything's real green. It's super nice, man.
I haven't checked. I need to check the Farmer's Almanac and see what the Farmer's Almanac's called for. Because that thing it's not always right, but it's generally right. Let's see what that thing says. How do we look that up?
I learned, I've spent an inordinate amount of time talking to meteorologists over the years and weather people. I told you all about the NASA weatherman I talked to, who had like 4 PhDs in mathematics. And then when we were in Colombia, we were way down in the Meta province, in the jungle. And I was stationed on an airfield taking care of doing the counterintelligence support for an airframe that was up there that did special things. And that airframe came with an Air Force weatherman, they'd rotate in, to give the weather, because weather's obviously very important. And the commanders would always get so mad at these Air Force kids, E5s, E6s, because they couldn't get the weather right. And they had to continuously explain to the commander, it's like, look, there is no historical weather data on this. We're building it as we go. So, and they said, a lot of, predicting the weather 24 hours out is not just radar, dude. It's historical data, comparing the dew point to the barometric pressure to the humidity to all this stuff. And they just had no data there. So yeah, whatever. Still talking about the weather is boring.
We used to call our, so he gets so mad. One of our JTACs, we would call him the weather guy. And he would get so mad, man. Like, he would get infuriated. You walk by and be like, "Hey, man, what is it gonna like? Is it gonna rain today? Like, what's the weather doing?" And he's like, "What?" I was like, "You're the Air Force guy, right?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, you're the weather guy." He was like, "I'm a JTAC," and everybody knew he was a JTAC, right? And he knew it. And then some of the other fellas, some of the killers got in on it, and so it was like every time you see him, man, ask him what's up with the weather. He gets so mad. He's like, "I'm gonna fratricide you guys."
So for those of y'all who don't know, the JTAC is a Joint Terminal Air Controller. And as far as Air Force goes, you got tiers of, special missions in the Army. You got Delta, then some would argue Special Forces, then some would argue Rangers, and then Airborne, right? Well, in the Air Force, you've got pararescue jumpers, PJs. They're the top. They're like the Air Force's Delta. And then the JTAC, those terminal air controllers, they're the ones calling in bombs. And dude, they're probably one of the most important, members on a team going out. And they're number 2, like they're right below a PJ. So yeah, so calling a JTAC, the weatherman. And those JTACs, dude, I have nothing but admiration for those guys, man, because they coordinate so much stuff, man.
They're legit. Yeah. They're legit badass. One of the guys I was, with in Syria, got to watch him work a little bit, and I mean, that guy was talking to aircraft and controlling aircraft and coordinating, synchronizing. And I don't know how many he had, but he was like, right now I've got him from about 10,000 feet all the way up to about 40,000 feet. And he was probably talking to a dozen different types of aircraft.
Yeah.
It's impressive to watch. Those dudes are
got them all stacked up, man. And they're also coordinating with the UASs, the unmanned vehicles up there, talking to those guys, and not just in some of the UASs, the way they operate, at least that I've seen, some of them, not all of them operate like this, is you've got a flyer and a firer, and they may be on different parts of the freaking planet. One may be right there in your joint operations center. That's the guy flying it. The guy that's going to release the Hellfire or whatever it's carrying, that guy's sitting in MacDill Air Force Base or wherever he is, or CENTCOM somewhere. So he's coordinating with, it's just, it's amazing. You really got to be on your game to do that.
Not to keep you from talking about your new drone, but I put that story in the book about the UAS in Africa, and to your point, right? The fires officer, sitting in the jock, he was the one that was like, okay, go ahead, let her rip. But the person flying it was actually in New Mexico.
That's right. I had it backwards. Yeah. You're right.
It took off from Djibouti, right? This is where this MQ-9 is. But the guy flying it, I say guys, again, it's probably some 22-year-old kid with an Xbox controller, dealing death from 35,000 feet with Hellfires. And he's going to Jersey Mike's for lunch after he nuked somebody. And but he was in New Mexico, and you got this guy sitting in the jock in the embassy in Nairobi, coordinating this stuff, and you got some JTAC out there, at the end of it. It's crazy, man. It's the stuff we can do. It's pretty legit.
There was one dude the last time we were both in Mosul at the same time. I don't know if you ever ate over at our little version of a chow hall. I'm trying to think. Anyway, this dude walks in. Was it there? Yeah, he walks in and he just got done working out. He's a young kid, I'd say maybe 23, and he had little triangles, like triangles tattooed all up and down his arms, little tiny triangles, and they created, it was a sleeve of these triangles. Those were his kills. Those were his kills. And he was one of the operators, that pressed the button that released the missile. And it's like, dude, people always say you get that tattoo, you're gonna have to live with that for the rest of your life, dude. You are living with a lot of death on your body when you're doing something like that. At 23, it kind of, I don't know, for maybe half a day, I was like, that's pretty cool. And I really started thinking about it. It's like, what, granddaddy, what's that?
Yeah. It's cool when you're 23. When you get 43, 53, 63, I don't know, man. It's, I look at the world a lot differently, at 48 than I do at 23. But yeah.
Before we get to the drone, speaking of all this, I want to tell another story. Before we get to the drone stuff, because I'd like to get your thoughts on it. I'm going to try to convert you over to it. Because Roger hasn't talked about it a lot. And, he's like, oh, yeah, I do it. And that's about it. Oh, yeah, mine's cool. And whatever. But anyway, so last Sunday, and this kind of ties into what you were talking about. You look at things differently, right? Because we've both been in combat. We've both seen death and everything. And I guess it kind of goes along with that. But so last Sunday, on the weekends when I'm here, because we don't live in Amarillo yet. I'm traveling there, kind of commuting, staying overnight, whatnot, a few nights. But on the weekends when I'm here, we like to go to the community swimming pool. We're not bougie like Josh. We don't have one in our backyard, but but we have a community swimming pool where everybody goes, and we just kind of hang out and people watch. I have a couple beers and get some sun. It's good. And so we're leaving the swimming pool and driving back home. We got to drive around the lake to get back home. And there's one 3-way intersection there where deer always hang out there. There's always there. So if you live here, it's like, when you come there, you probably should slow down a little bit, So sure enough, man, we come up to this where we got to turn right at this 3-way, and we see a mama deer over here, and we see a little fawn over on the other side of the road. Okay, so the mama deer has already crossed the road. The baby fawn with the spots and everything is waiting right there. So we come to a stop because my wife loves little fawns and stuff. So we come to a stop. And dude, it was like slow freaking motion. Someone was coming the opposite direction of us down the hill, and it was like slow motion. And it happened so quick that that fawn took off running. And this car is like a Hyundai Santa Fe or something. I don't know. Didn't hit the brakes, nothing. That fawn takes off running, and that car just bump right over it, and like right in front of us. And when they passed me, this happened, I don't know, 15 meters from us. As this car passed me, I go like this. I'm like, what? Like, what were you thinking? Because they didn't put on their brakes, nothing. Like, how could you not see that coming out of that yard? They had plenty of time to see it. And this person, I locked eyes with her, young girl. I locked eyes with her, and she's looking back at me like she didn't know what I was doing this for. So I was like, I can't. And this thing wasn't dead. It was obviously paralyzed, and it's starting to drag itself. It's doing the flippity flop. And I was like, what the fuck? My wife is freaking out, because dude, it's tough to see. It's really tough to see. And so I'm like, no, man, no. I'm looking in the rearview mirror. I turn the car around, and I head back to the, where I thought she was going. So, whatever. And it turns out, I turned the corner, and she had pulled into the swimming pool parking lot, that same Hyundai. So this is where I went wrong. I came in a little hot. I came across the bridge that goes to the pool and the ranch house. Probably going a little too fast. She probably would be going about 10, 15 across that bridge. I was probably going about 20. It's a little bit too fast. But I was pissed. So, I pull up right behind her, jump out, and I wasn't super aggressive. I was like, hey, you were just over there and you hit a baby fawn. You didn't slow down. You weren't looking around. You weren't aware of your surroundings, and you need to slow down in this canyon. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, I saw you do it. Now this is where it gets interesting. Now, some guy comes over, a lot shorter than me, a lot smaller than me, He goes, "What's going on here?" I was like, "This girl right here, she just hit a baby deer over there and drove off from it." And he goes, "Well, how do you know it was her?" I was like, "I locked eyes with her. I saw the vehicle." And he goes, "Well, did you get a license plate?" And I was like, "Oh man." And that's where it could have gone really bad. But I was like, You know what? I don't need a license plate. I know what I saw." And I started getting pissed off because this girl had already put on her life vest because she's going to go out on jet skis. Didn't phase her at all that this had just happened. You
Yeah.
know, my cat's meowing at me. Shut up. Anyway, so this guy's kind of confronting me, and he made a good point that kind of brought me down. He's like, "Well, you rolled up here kind of quick, you know. I don't know what to think about this, and this is my daughter." And I was like, and I thought about me going a little too fast over that bridge, and I was like, "You know what? You're right. You're right. I have a daughter too, and I'd be concerned as well. But she does need to slow down." It's like, "Well, why don't you let me talk to her and figure out what happened?" And I was like, "I just told you what happened." He goes, "Well, let me talk to her." And I was like, "Okay." So I asked the girl, I was like, "Listen, I didn't mean to scare you. You just need to slow down." It's like, "I have a daughter too. She's 27. How old are you, sweetheart?" She goes, 15. And she looks at her dad and she goes, "I mean, 16. And I go like this. I go to him, I pointed at her and I was like, She's got to slow down in this canyon." So this is only part of the story. I'm like, okay, I got to go take care of this,
Yeah.
you know? So I went up there, I drove back to where it happened. And there was a dude that lives across the street from me. He was actually out riding his bike and he stopped right there and he's on the phone. And apparently he was on the phone with Texas Parks and Wildlife asking them, "Hey, what's the deal?" Parks and Wildlife said, "You can go ahead and put it down, but don't do it in the city limits." You know, it's like, well, what are we supposed to do? And fortunately, unbeknownst to me, this guy, his family lives in this canyon too, and they actually own a ranch on the other side of the canyon. Like it's right there. When you're driving out the canyon, it's to your right.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Man, I said, well, look, I'll go back to the house. I'll get my truck. I'll get my gun, and I'll come back." He's like, "Okay, I'll stay here with it." So came back, got my truck. He loaded that poor little fawn who was still alive in a tremendous amount of pain
Just
into
suffering.
the back of the truck, just suffering. And we took it over there, pulled in, opened the gate to his ranch, took it over there. And I said, it's kind of embarrassing. I looked at him. Another neighbor actually showed up too, two good men. I looked at him, was kind of embarrassed. I was like, "I know where to shoot a deer if I'm hunting, but if I'm trying to execute it, I don't know what's the best place to hit it. If you want to kill it, like the brain area, like what's the best? Where's the best? I know with a human being where it is, but with a deer, they're like, yeah, it's right there." They pointed, and I was like, all right. So pop shot it, 9 mil. It was pretty close to dying anyway. In fact, the guy thought it was dead, but I put my hand on his chest, and heart was still beating it. It's like, we got to put it down. And so, we took it over and, we threw it in the brush. So, birds got to eat, same as worms and coyotes and stuff. But dude, honestly, I really think even though she denied it, I guarantee she denied it to her parents. I guarantee she did. There's no way she doesn't know she hit something. And hopefully that will make that girl a better driver in the long run. But what bothers me is, I think I told you guys this. It's like, if that was an adult deer, I would have way less of a problem putting it down. I've been thinking about it. It's like, why did I have such a hard time with that? And it's got to be because it was a young deer who hadn't had a chance to make it. I wouldn't have the least bit of remorse if that same fawn got taken down by a pack of coyotes that same night if it hadn't gotten hit. The coyotes came and got it because that's the circle of life. That's just how it happens. I don't have any whatever. That's just nature. But the thing is, a car, come on. It just doesn't seem right. And plus, it's a little baby. It's like, ugh, it bothered me, man. And it's stuck with me. I mean, like seeing that happen, it's stuck with me. It keeps flashing through my mind. I'm like, what is wrong with me, dude? I mean, I don't know. And the story Roger tells about the dog, I'm not even going to repeat it. He has a horrible story about something he saw happen to a puppy. And I didn't even see it and stuff like that. It just resonates with me. I hate it.
I think a large part of that is, I mean, it is the fact of human nature, especially men, right, is you are supposed to protect things, that can't protect themselves, right? We have a duty, we have an obligation, to protect things, whether it's a human baby or whether it's a puppy, a kitten, right? He's like, you don't want to see anything bad happen to that because, again, like you said, it's young, it's defenseless, it doesn't know what it's doing. It's just, it's trying to watch its parents to figure out, okay, how do I not get brought down by the pack of coyotes tonight? And so again, it just goes back. It's in our DNA to protect, youngins. And not to no, not to completely derail the conversation just yet, but I do want to talk, later this episode
Oh
about
yeah.
how, about everything in the news about kids and predators, whether they be 15-year-old girls who probably shouldn't be driving a car anyway, probably doesn't even have a license to drive by herself, or whether it be grown men, flying them, taking them to an island somewhere. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it's hard. We've had to put because when I was a kid, one, we didn't have inside pets at all. These animals weren't allowed inside the house. Animals stay outside. But even then, we had some young pets that something happened. Whatever happened. Not to get hit by a car, but they got sick, and you start looking at them, you're like, something's wrong. Whether they got bit by a snake, whatever it was, and it was like, you got to put it down. You weren't paying the vet to put it down. Right. It was like, no, it's like, you grab the 22 or whatever you need to, and you go out back and you put it down. And yeah, man, that sucks. That really sucks.
I think
For
and what I
sure.
was getting pissed off about that night, after it was over, it's like that's the last way I want to spend my Sunday. I mean, my weekends, especially these days, are gold. I mean, very valuable to me. And I did not, I was pissed off about that, but I was also pissed off about I just cleaned up another person's mess for them,
Yeah.
and I truly mean this. I know how I would have handled that because, to be honest, my wife and I've talked a lot about it. It's like, well, we lived out there outside of San Antonio. It's pretty rural out there where we lived. And when the kids had their learner's permit, and I was confident that they could handle a vehicle, we would let them drive to the convenience store that was a couple miles away. And when they were 15, we would let them do that. And and I'm thinking, well, that same thing could have happened to them, I guess, because inexperienced driver, dude. I get it. 15 years
Yeah.
old, totally inexperienced. But let's say that the same thing happened to me when my daughter was 15 and she's driving from the top of the canyon down to the pool, right? And somebody rolls up on her. First of all, I'd be a little bit protective and pissed, just like that guy was. But once I
Yeah.
heard the accusation, you know what I would do? I would say, you point at my daughter. I was like, you get in the car. And I'd point at the person making the accusation. You take me to where this happened.
Yeah.
And then I would confront my daughter at the scene and say, you just drove this way. And he just saw this. You're going to admit that you did this. Because at that point, seeing a dying, little fawn and with the timeline, it's like this happened. And it's
Yeah.
like, you know what else I would do? I'd be like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Guys, I'll take care of this. And then
Yep.
my daughter would be accompanying me back to the house to get a gun, and she would watch me shoot that fawn. Because it's like a little Bambi fawn with all the dots on it and everything, so
Yeah.
that she learned her freaking lesson. You're not going to lie to
Yeah.
me about this. And there are consequences to what you did. And I'm thinking, why didn't he do that? That just kind of, I'm sure you would have done the same thing. It's like, to me,
Oh
that's
yeah.
just common sense. It's like, all right, you're gonna make an accusation. Let's go see where this dead animal is. Hot
Yeah.
shot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, whatever. It's
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. I would not have, at the same time, yeah, if if my daughter, came rolling up in the parking lot and then there's this big burly man, giving her the business. Yeah, my first thing is I'm getting in between those two and I'm looking at
Yeah.
big burly man and be like, what's going on?
Yep.
Like, first off, you need to lower your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
You
He's
know,
right to do that.
yeah, no, 100%. So that was, good on him. But yeah, after that, be like, oh, that really, okay, that's what happened. Yeah. All right. Hey, everybody get in the car. Let's go and take a look at this. But yeah, absolutely. She is helping me put this thing down because, especially for a 15-year-old girl, that's a significant emotional event to see. right?
Oh,
And I guarantee
100%.
that is but that, again, man, that's one of those lessons. Because at the end of the day, hey, you know what? That was a fawn, right? That was
Could have been a
Bambi.
kid.
Spots and everything could have been somebody's kid, and you didn't even stop to check. You didn't even know that it wasn't a kid. You just heard the dunk, and you're like, no, I'm not stopping.
Oh, that's so
And
bad.
but you think about that, like she didn't even stop to check. And when you hit something in a car, right?
You can't not. I mean, the only thing I can think is that there is kind of a, what do you call it? Where water runs off, it's a little, not spillway. What I'm trying to say. It's like,
Yeah,
whatever, it's like right in the middle of the road so that water can get
yeah,
down to the lake. And it is kind of a bump, it's not like a speed bump, but I mean, I could only think that maybe she thought she hit a pothole or something. I don't know. But dude, hitting a pothole is a lot different than running over something. But again, we're talking about a 15-year-old driver here.
yeah.
Yeah.
It sucks.
It just is what it is, And here's what a lesson I did learn though is when I first rolled up, my neighbor across the street, he said a couple things. He goes, "Man, part of me just wants to see if this thing can make it." And I'm looking at this fawn and I'm like, "It's not going to make it, dude. There's nothing you can do. There's nothing a vet can do. The whole backside of this fawn is crushed. It's not going to make it."
Yeah.
He goes, "Well, I said, "I'll go get my gun." He goes, "Well, if you shoot it, I'll eat it." And I was like, "Well, if you're going to eat it, you should probably shoot it." And he's like, "Well,
Yeah.
I don't want to get I want to stay here with it. So whatever." I was like, "Okay." So we kind of had I came back, got my gun, and go back over there. We kind of had a discussion where we're on the way over to his ranch, and he goes, "Man, I just learned from Texas Parks and Wildlife, you can't eat roadkill in the state of Texas. You can't." He goes, "I didn't know that till today because I've done this a lot." He was like, I wanted to, take this meat. And I would have been fine with that, dude. I mean, that may sound harsh to some people out there, but it's like, dude, it's a fawn. There's some good meat on that thing. You might as well get some sustenance out of it. And but you can't. And he was already on the phone with Parks and Wildlife. He didn't want to take the chance.
They told him they came out there to double check.
Yeah. So yeah, you can't eat roadkill in the state of Texas. Did not know that.
I didn't know that. I wonder how, is that one of those things like, yeah, you're not supposed to, but like, do they really enforce it?
I'll tell you this, with Texas Parks and Wildlife, if anybody's visiting the state of Texas, don't risk it because those guys are everywhere. They're like the Predator from the movie. They just got to jump out from behind a bush. I mean, they are everywhere. If you're doing something wrong, it's like they have some spidey sense and they know it. They must have that NSA mind reading technology or something because they will pop out of nowhere. So it's like, could you get away with it? Yeah, you probably could, but I'm not going to risk it. Not with Parks and Wildlife because any one of those laws, well, not any one of them, a lot of laws in the state of Texas with wildlife laws, there's no what do you call it? Statute of limitations. None. Like if they find out you did it 30 years later, they can still charge you with it. Especially if you've killed a raptor, any kind of raptor bird.
Oh, dude, yeah.
You're going to jail. And it doesn't even matter if you're 7 years old when you do it. They're going to charge you with it.
Yeah, so especially when it comes to raptors, that's the case in a lot of states. I know Florida was the same way. It's it's like, 30 years ago you shot a cormorant on the St. Mark's River, right? When you're supposed to be in school. Not that it's completely hypothetical, right? It's like, oh yeah, we're gonna go ahead and put you in jail today, right? 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years later.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So I don't know if North Carolina has the same thing, but so there are laws like if you hit a deer, let's say you hit a deer out of season and you don't have a hunting license, you're not allowed to take that deer, right? You got to call on the sheriff. Like, all right, the sheriff will come, do whatever. And then so a lot of times they've got like Hunters for the Hungry program, stuff like that. They'll donate it to, one of those programs that'll go, it'll get processed by a local butcher and then the food the meat goes to a low income family, or, like a soup kitchen or homeless shelter or something. But there's a lot of times to where, I've had buddies, they hit a deer and if it's in season, but they don't have a license or anything like that, or they've already tagged out on buck, stuff like that. It's really up to the local sheriff, and a lot of times local sheriff's like, dude, I don't want to deal with that. Just move it off the road so it's not a hazard to motorists. Where it goes from there, I don't care.
That's the way it should be, just adjudicate right there. It's like, come on. I mean, the reason laws like that exist, I don't know. There's got to be a reason, right?
Yeah.
Because it's probably they don't want people swerving to hit deer. I don't know. But the raptor law is interesting. I get, because honestly, I am a conservationist. I am in no way an environmentalist. I'm a conservationist, as I think you are. The Nathan Muir type, right? The Thoreau type, and I think in Texas Parks and Wildlife, I have a lot of admiration for those officers, because they really do know their stuff, and a lot of those laws are pretty well thought out. I don't like the license part of it, but I guess it's just, if you're trying to conserve, habitats and things like that, I guess I get it, but I mean, do you really, I get the season aspect of it. What I don't like is you have to have a license for it, because all that is a tax. That's all that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but a lot of their policies are well thought out. And back to the raptor thing, I think that's a real testament, because multiple states do it. I think that's a real testament to how valuable those types of animals are in controlling, rodent populations and, just rabbits, because rabbits can get out of control real quick. Snakes, and speaking of which, I know I'm talking a lot, but the other day there was Michelle's taking pictures, sending it to me at work. She was at home, and there was a snake crawling up the little spillway, or up the little thing. It was a big one. And I was like, I zoom in on it. I was like, take another video of it. And I zoom in on it, and I was like, dude, that's a king snake. I was like, don't kill that. That's a good guy. King snakes kill the hell out of rattlesnakes. Some dude is driving up down the road, and he thought he was doing the right thing. So again, this underscores the difference between a fawn and a snake, because I laugh at this. This guy sees that snake coming across the road and does the thing where you hit it with your front tire and you slam on your brakes, and he pulls over, and he's like, I got it. And he walks over to it. He's like, oh no, that was a king snake. He felt bad about it. He's like, oh shit. He goes, I thought it was a rattlesnake, and I get it, but dude, you kill a king snake, dude, they'll kill 10 rattlers in a couple of months. Those things are deadly for rattlers.
Yeah, I sent you guys the video of the cats on the patio playing with that little baby snake, right? And there's a little rat snake, and it's one of those things. I'm not an environmentalist, but I'm an absolute conservationist, and it was one of those, like, you looked at this thing, it's like, it's a rat snake. Like, this thing eats rodents and moles and shit like that. I was like, come here. He was small enough. I scooped him up with a dustpan, and I went and put him in the woods, tossed him over the fence in the woods behind the house before the cats killed him. And the cats were just looking at me like, dude, what are you doing? Like, we were playing with that thing. But it's and it comes down to, I don't like the licenses. I don't like the license thing either. Because you're right. It's absolutely a tax. When it comes to the license stuff, I do get, you can't go out there, they limit, like, you have a tag limit on bucks, right? You can't go out there and harvest, 20 bucks, or whatever, does, a lot of places have limits on does. I remember as a kid, and this is the same thing in alligators, growing up in Florida, when I was a little kid, they were endangered. Now, dude, there are golf courses with water hazard. There's a gator in it. If it's got, how if there's a gator in it? If it's got standing water, there's a gator in it in Florida. I promise you, there's a gator in it. Oh, that's a slough, just a irrigation ditch on the side of the road that has standing water, 9 months out of the year. Guarantee it's got a gator living in it. And, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting an alligator in Florida now. And the same thing with deer in a lot of places. Growing up, you rarely saw deer, even hunting. It was like, man, you'd see them every once in a while, but now they're everywhere. They're like squirrels. Dude, we lived in Northern Virginia. It was not, and we lived in one of those Northern Virginia McMansion neighborhoods that were brand new, no mature trees. You could stand in between yours and your neighbor's house, reach out and touch both. It was not uncommon every day to see deer in somebody's yard eating their flowers on the way to work or coming home. And you see them all over the place now. And so yeah, I don't like the tax. The season stuff I completely get. Like right now, fawns are out, right? They've just given birth. Nobody should be out killing deer right now, especially mothers who are, raising those fawns and stuff. But who is a football player? Oh man, I can't remember his name. Anyway, so he just got back from Africa. He went to Africa, did a big game hunt in Africa, and he made the error of posting his pictures of his successful hunt on social media. And all the environmentalists, right, they come out and they go absolutely berserker on him. Not understanding. Okay. So
Jay Cutler.
Yeah, not understanding conservation, not understanding that you have to call herds, right? Because they will, they'll outgrow their food, the amount of, their ecosystem. And also the money that goes into those hunts, all the tags, taxes, fees, gratuities, everything that supports some of those little small villages for an entire year. Just 200 or 3 hunters coming in there, that supports them for an entire year. Right. And, I will tell everybody, hey, guess what? They're not out shooting elephants. It's gazelles and zebras, and they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. So it's a lot of people just do it. It's out of ignorance. It's just, it's out of ignorance, but, big fan of conservation.
So you told the cat story with the snakes, and I want to follow up. Remind me to ask you about pythons if I trail off.
Okay.
So yeah, when we lived outside there, outside San Antonio, rural, we had 2 cats. We actually had 4 cats, man. They were indoor, outdoor cats. And 2 of them, Thor and Clyde, were freaking feral. Dude, they were feral cats. When they came in the house, forget about touching them. You're not going to touch Clyde. Dude, Clyde's going to get away from you. But these cats, man, holy crap. They would kill, one of them killed a coral snake,
Ooh.
and brought it up to us like, hey, you see this? See? You looking at this? This is how you hunt. This is how you hunt, you stupid human. They killed a king snake one time, blood all over the back porch. It's brutal. But then one time, I haven't told this story on the podcast, I don't think. We had another cat named Snoop. And Snoop is still alive. He actually lives in Houston. So Snoop came in one day, and he didn't come in. He was outside on one of the chairs, and I was in Colombia at the time. And Michelle, gets in touch with me, and she's like, something's wrong with Snoop. He's limp. He's not moving around. He's kind of weird. His pupils are dilated. I was like, you need to search his body. So she searched his body and found a snake bite. Ooh. And I've seen small animals die of snake bites. Diamond head, rattlesnake. I've seen it happen, and it is not pretty. You don't want to see it. They die a painful death. And Snoop is a cat. It's very small. It probably weighed 13 pounds. So I tell my wife, I was like, you need to go next door, get with Bert, our next door neighbor, and have him put Snoop down. And she's like, I can't do that. And I was like, you don't want to see what's going to happen tonight. What's going to happen tonight is going to scar you for life, because this cat is going to die in agony. And she's like, I can't do it. I can nurse him back to health. And I'm like, don't do it. Go get Bert. Bert's going to put Snoop down. And she's like, no, I'm going to nurse him back to health. I can do this. I'm like, okay. I was like, learning experience for my wife is what this is going to be. So she looks up on Google, give him sugar water, all this stuff. And lo and behold, Snoop makes it, because Snoop was bit by a copperhead. And I didn't realize that copperheads aren't that venomous. I mean, they're really not. It's definitely not going to kill a human. It'll kill a mouse, but not a cat. Like a cat's got 50, better than 50-50 chance of making it. So
You're-
if I would have been there, Josh, it's a good thing I was in Columbia and not in Lavernia, Texas, because I probably would have shot that cat.
you just shot Snoop.
I probably would have.
Ah.
So yeah, he made it. But yeah, and so I learned something about copperheads. They're actually not that venomous. So one thing I want to ask you, I saw you just got up there, probably take care of your dog. But so
Not
what?
cat.
Way back in the day, I was at a mall in Phoenix as a kid, and they had this fountain in the mall, and things were crazy back in the late 70s, early 80s, and some animal, whatever, they were doing a thing in the mall, and they had a python in this mall, and they were showing all the kids, and everybody's like, "Oh wow, crazy!" This is the craziest thing I'd ever seen. I was a young kid. And they let this python in the fountain. This python is swimming around the fountain. It was crazy back in the 70s and 80s,
Wow.
y'all. It was insane. But I want to say, and I'm probably totally wrong on this, but I want to say that back then pythons were like a rarity. I don't want to say they were like an endangered species or anything. I don't think they were, but it was like, wow, python in the wild, crazy. Now in Florida, is what I want to ask you about. Is like, they're overrun with pythons. They're in the Everglades.
Yeah.
So what happened there? Because I want to say the pythons, like maybe they were around, but in Florida, but they weren't very common, I don't think. So what happened, man? How come it's overrun with pythons now?
So nobody knows exactly how the pythons wound up in the Everglades. There's speculation. Some people are like, oh, it happened with Hurricane Andrew when it destroyed the Miami Zoo and, animals got out, whatever. What I think happened is somebody probably got one as a pet and didn't realize this thing is huge. Like it outgrew their ability to take care of it, or outgrew, their ability to be like, I can't deal with this thing. And so they're like, I'm going to dump this thing right, in the nearest, marsh. And, that's a wrap. Because that is the perfect environment for them.
But would there have to be more than one, though? I mean, this would have
they dumped it. Yeah, they had, somebody had two, and they dumped them out there as a bail. Hey, they're off and running because it's the perfect environment when you think about, the amount of fox and raccoons and possums and, just small mammals. And, you think about white-tailed deer, all right, white-tailed deer in Florida, are like big German shepherds, and so you're thinking pythons, like it's a perfect size meal, for them. But yeah, there's right now they estimate that there are tens of thousands of pythons in the Everglades. And I mean, it has destroyed the ecosystem in the Everglades, absolutely destroyed it. The invasive species, but Florida and, you can't kill them. You can go out and you can hunt them, but you can't kill them. You have to capture them alive. Then you have to turn them over to the state for the state to dispose of them. And I'm like, bro, you know how much tourism money I could make if I could be like, bring your AR-15. I've got an airboat, no bag limit, invasive species, and we're just going to go out and we're going to hunt some pythons, and it's going to, but you can't.
But I thought they had it's like a week where it's open season. It's like it's a competition in Florida. It's like, oh, how many can you kill, and you win a gift certificate to Applebee's or something.
It's how many you catch. You can't kill them.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it's how many you catch. And it's like, dude, it's like, I don't like snakes. I'm not afraid of snakes. I don't like them. I'm one of those like, hey, I can see you. You stay over there. I'm gonna stay over here. We're good, right? You can go on your way. The one thing I hate, like spiders. Like I don't like spiders at all. But I am not going. I'm not going into the swamp in Florida chasing some damn 15, 20-foot snake. Like it's not happening.
They can crush you to death. They can crush you to death.
Yeah. It's like, I don't care if it's not venomous or not. Like that thing is a constrictor. And like you said, like that thing could take your life. And I'm like, dude, I'm not going into one. You don't generally a bad idea to go into swamps anyway, especially in Florida, because most of the things in there want to and have the ability to kill you. You know, whether it's like you said, whether it's copperheads, moccasins, alligator snapping turtles, you know, gators, whatever. Like the majority of the things in a swamp are not your friend. And it's like, no, man, there's a big 20-foot snake in there somewhere. There's tens of thousands of them. Let's go in here at night and try and catch it. Like, no, dude.
So check this out. I just looked this up. So the problem in Florida is Burmese pythons. Okay.
Yeah.
From that peninsula there, you know, you got Myanmar and all that. So in that area in Southeast Asia, Burmese pythons are listed as vulnerable. It's a vulnerable species in that part of the world. In Florida, however, it's considered, again, as we've been talking about, an invasive species where they've got a problem with it. So yeah, I mean, I knew I was right about that. That I heard like growing up, oh, pythons, they're vulnerable, close to being endangered. We got to save the python. Dude, nature finds a way, man. Just like the book Jurassic Park, man, nature finds a way. And I guarantee ain't no hurricane blew a Burmese python from freaking Myanmar all the way to the Everglades of Florida. That shit didn't happen.
No. Somebody had it, you know, somebody had him as a pet. And this is one thing, like, I'm against exotic pets. Right. Unless you're a zoo or like you're an animal sanctuary, you know, whatever, you're a scientific researcher, you're like where you study, people should not have Burmese pythons as pets. People should not have like, you know, some like a boom slang or a puff adder, you know, as a pet. Like that's not a pet, man. Right. And, you know, it's the same thing like pit bulls. I don't think pit bulls should be allowed. I think pit bulls should be eradicated from the face of the earth. And dude, you know, that may draw some ire from some of the listeners. I really don't care. Pit bulls.
You asked about what's going on in Amarillo before we started recording, and I'll tell you one of the things that's going on in Amarillo right now is there's been a rash of dog bites. I mean, bad. Like not just I got bit on the leg, like chewed their face off bad.
Like mauled.
And it's mauled, yeah. Where intensive care don't know if they're going to make it or not. Bad. Ooh. And you know, granted, it's confined to certain areas of town. I'll just put it to you that way. But in every case, it's some sort of bull or a cane corso in almost every case. And dude, I mean, I think you've seen what dogs can actually do to human flesh with those Belgian Mal. Dude, you know, I'm with you on the pit bull thing. You know, I know that you know, some rappers have had them, and one guy is on the dog whisperer and everything because his pit bull is so well behaved. But that's the exception, not the rule. And I'm with you, man. Pit bulls, I you know what? Breed them out of existence. If you know, if you don't want to go the Somalia route like Josh wants to do, you know, just breed them out. Breed them with I don't know, golden retrievers or something. The gentlest dog there is. I also think that aggressive dog breeds where they can turn on a human, like what are the ones with the purple tongues? I want to say a chow.
Yeah, chows.
Chows are extremely aggressive, and it's like, why do we have these dogs? There's no reason to have them. Like it's just dumb. It's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to put a pond outside. I'm going to stock it with, you know, fish, but I'm going to put only barracudas and hammer sharks in there. Like, why? This is just dumb.
Yeah,
it's dumb.
Dude,
gosh,
people always want to, you know, rebut back with the, well, if you raise them right, you cannot raise the DNA out of that dog. That it's a thing. It's bully breeds, right? It's chows, it's Rottweilers, but it is really, really, really pit bulls, right? They're at the top. If you go back and again, you know, people want to argue, well, if you raise them right, it's like, go look at the data. Just go look at the data. Go look and see how many people every year in the United States are bit by pit bulls versus golden retrievers. And then come back and tell me it's not the pit bull. But it is. It's in their DNA. Like it's fine. It's just what it is. But you chose to have that, dude. And people have pit bulls. some of the girls have friends who, they're like, they have pit bull. They're not allowed at their house.
Mm.
And say, hey, they can come over here all they want to. That's fine. You are not allowed at their house, because one day that dog is going to decide to go dog. It's like when who are the two guys in Vegas with the lions?
Siegfried and Roy with tigers.
Siegfried or with tigers. Yeah. Siegfried and Roy. It's like everybody's like, oh, that tiger went crazy. That tiger didn't go crazy. That tiger went tiger. That tiger did what it was bred and born to do, which is to run through its kingdom and eat shit, whether it be animals, people, whatever. And it's just pit bulls. Every single one of them should be destroyed.
You remember Gary Sinise's speech to Tom Hanks in The Green Mile, where he brought his son over there and his son's missing an eye, and he's talking about how he had to shoot the dog because the dog just got in his head. The dog was the sweetest thing, but one day he just got in his head. And that's, that's with all dogs, really. You have to remember, all of these dogs are just basically wolves. They are. They all came from wolves, every one of them. And they've been domesticated over the years, but they're still animals. You never know. Yep. And that's one of the reasons why I take my dogs to the kennel. We found a good one here, and they have Wi-Fi, or they have cameras set up everywhere, so you can watch your dogs, and I have my dogs do playtime. I think it's really good for them to be socialized and everything, but I'll watch that. I'm almost obsessive about it. Like if I'm at work or something, I'll have that webcam up watching my dogs, and watching interactions with the other dogs. And every once in a while you can see the dog come out in some of those other dogs, mine too. Occasionally you can see it. They pushed it a little too far. And then this place is really good. It's called Wag B&B in Lubbock. Shout out. But those people are always watching the dogs, and they anticipate problems before they happen. Yep. They're really watching these animals. But I guess my point is, pit bulls are, I would guess they're the worst. But all of these dogs, dude, it can happen. Just ask Dave, who doesn't listen to this show. He's missing a finger now. Because he likes to pet white girls' dogs. That'll teach you.
And that wasn't even. I don't remember. I have to ask him. I don't remember what breed of dog it was, but
it was like a husky.
Like a bully breed. Yeah,
it was a husky.
Like okay. I remember, dude, it was so funny because when it happened, somebody at work told me, they're like, hey man, like Dave's, he's going to be in late today or whatever the case was. And I was like, okay, well, what's up? And they're like, a dog bit off part of his pinky finger. And I was just like, oh, okay. And I just kept on doing what I was doing because Dave, it's just how it was. It's like nothing. It was like, oh, okay. All right. It got in, tell the story. Yeah.
But he's known for petting strangers' dogs. Strangers' dogs and petting them. Dude, I am very careful, no matter what the dog is, to go up, approach slowly, put the hand out, palm down, let them come up, smell the hand. You don't go up to a strange dog and start petting it.
Start grabbing it and petting it, dude. No, especially not a big dog like that, like a husky. No. Like, come on, man. Like, what's wrong with you?
And the huskies, like we said, they all come from wolves. You take a little pug or something. Boy, that thing's come a long way from a wolf. But a husky, you can still see that wolf in that husky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was funny, dude.
Oh,
that was good.
So you said, go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
You said you had a philosophical question, and I've been wondering what that is.
I do, but
you want to save that?
Yeah, I was like, you haven't even talked to you. You haven't even talked about your drone yet. You have talked about your new toy.
Okay, yeah. I'm working with a unit with a PD who they operate drones, and they do a really good job. And drones are turning into first responders, right? Because if you know where the incident is, you send the drone out there to, gather intel basically so that the cops who are on their way know what they're coming into. It's really good. And you can even identify people, facial scans and things like that, compare it. So it's really cool. And I'm just like, I need to get into this. I'm going to get myself a drone. So I went out and bought myself a Chinese DJI Air 3, knowing full well it's Chinese. I get it. It's listening to me right now, whatever, even though it's off. And if stuff ever does go down with Taiwan, it's going to try to kill me. I get it. But I didn't go top of the line with it, but I got a good one. I didn't want to get a cheap one that's going to, break in 3 weeks. So mid-range, mid-range, drone. So I took that thing up first day, and I'm very careful with it because, I don't want to waste my money. I don't want to, dive it into the lake or crash it into, whatever. Dude, I would highly recommend it, man. Number one, it's kind of fun, learning the capabilities, learning how to operate it. It's kind of like a video game, but in real life, you got the little controller and everything. Here's the controller. The phone, you operate it with your phone. It goes in like that, and you got the whole thing. But what I really noticed about it, and I'm thinking about getting one for my dad. Oh, he's going to listen to this. Screw it. Maybe he won't listen to this one. I'm thinking about getting one for my dad for Christmas or something, or his birthday just passed. So maybe I'll get him one. But I'm thinking, as I'm operating this thing, Josh, it really expands your mind because now you're in different dimensions. You know what I'm saying? You have to consider for, what's the lift on this thing, this way, that way, it really challenges your mind as you're flying it, because it really, it's a good mind exercise, if anything. And after flying it for like 3 days, I took it out, maybe 6 times. The battery life is pretty, I don't know. You need multiple batteries. I'll put it to you that way, because battery only lasts tops maybe 45 minutes, so 45 minutes is not a lot of flight time. But as I'm flying that thing around, it's got 3 times zoom. You can fly it up to, technically you can take it up to 500 meters, but since we're here near an airport, the ceiling is only 120 meters. We're next to an airfield, I should say. So 120 meters is the ceiling around here. You got to be within line of sight, all that stuff. So after flying it for 3 days, probably flew it 6, 8 times, I'm already like, I need a better drone. I need more flight time. I need more, lift capacity, basically, because I want to put stuff on this thing. And I need better battery life, and I definitely need a better camera. I want like 30 times zoom. I don't want this 3 times zoom. I want to be up at 300 feet, being able to see someone's face. That's what I want. And so I start pricing those out, and it's like, when you're talking that kind of capability, now you're talking $7,000 to $10,000 from bottom of the line. So it's like, dude, man. But thing is, I think I found a new hobby. I don't find hobbies as quick as Roger does. I'm not into drones and 3D printing and coffee and whatever else he does. I think he made wine for a little while or something. But I think this is one that's going to stick, and it is a lot of fun. Put it to you that way. I highly recommend it. Get yourself a nice low level. You don't even have to get a DJI Air 3. Just get the Mini or something. It's fun. It's fun. And the reason I was talking about getting it for my dad is like, you always say, as folks get older, you need to challenge their mind, do Sudoku, do puzzles and stuff like that to, activate different parts of your mind. Well, when you're flying a drone, it actually activates different parts of your mind as far as navigationally, it's just a lot of fun, dude. And it really, I wouldn't call it challenging, but it is a different way of, flexing those muscles in your brain that you don't usually flex. It's a lot of fun, dude. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I had a drone years and years ago. Actually, my late mother-in-law, she got me one for Christmas, and I think I had that thing probably a month or two, maybe, before I put it into a tree or something, and like it it did not survive. Because I didn't know what I was doing. They are fun, and they have so much. There's so many options out there now. We actually used to have one security wise back, before I retired, to where it was a massive drone, right? So it's a monster drone. It has this pneumatic cannon on it with a net that shoots a net, right? And so basically, what you would do, it would geofence an area All right. So a geofence an area, and if it was a counter drone. And so if like, a drone came into that geofenced area, it would trigger this thing. This thing would automatically power up, go fly to wherever that was, find it, hit it with this net to bring it down. And now that's all cool and everything until 200 drones show up and you only have one net, and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do now. We're just gonna die, right? Because Skynet's here. And but yeah, they're really cool. And then we had them on a while back. Brandon, who farms out in Kansas. One of the things that he does now is he has a big drone and he uses it to spray crops with, right? Instead of driving the big tractor sprayer around the field, through the crops and stuff like that, the drone picks up. It's one of the big ones like you're talking about, right? Like it's carrying payloads, to where, you're putting however many gallons of, whatever in this thing. And it's, you basically, you geofence it to an area and it racetracks, around and, sprays that. And so I mean, the uses of them are endless.
Yeah.
They're just, they're I mean, it's limitless. And so, we're going to see them, obviously, we're going to see them more and more. The military. Did you see the new weapon system that the Army just fielded?
Oh man, the counter drone thing.
Yes.
Oof, yeah.
It was pretty bad. It just like melts them. Right.
Yeah.
It puts out so much energy, it just melts them. And I was like, dude, can you use that on people?
See, the reason I want more lift capacity is I want to get one of those flamethrowers, and I want to mount that flamethrower. And I don't even know what I'm going to do with it. I just want a drone flying around that shoots flames.
So, no kidding. When we were getting ready to push into Raqqa in Syria, one of the things that it was a hate because ISIS had put up all those tarps over the streets, and so for ISR, you're like, we can't see what's going on in the streets, right? It's a problem. And hey, you give a bunch of dudes a problem, it's like, okay, we're gonna figure out how to solve this problem. And somebody was like, well, why don't we just fly a drone over it and set those things on fire? And
wait, you're telling it wrong, because they had actually come up with a slide deck, and this was one of the courses of action, and they had, if I remember right, it was in a slide deck. This was like, hey guys, maybe we could do this. Oh no, they thought this stuff through and put it in a slide deck.
Oh yeah. No, this was a COA, right? This was a COA that, I mean, it went to the higher ups, and one of the COAs was like, well, we could just put a flamethrower on a drone and fly that thing, down the street and set fire to all those tarps and, sheets and blankets and, stuff like that. And then we can, we'll see what's going on. And somebody was like, yes, that is a viable COA. And we went out and put a flamethrower on a drone. And then we opened up the naming, right? We opened up the naming for the drone. Like, what are we going to call this thing? And you remember when they opened up the naming for that ship on the internet, and it wound up, it was like, here's your option. And it wound up, it was like Bodie McBoatface, or something like that. This name of it. It wound up Droney McDroneface. Was the name of it, but it was a drone with a flamethrower on it. Now, it did not get approved because it's like, okay, there's a bunch of civilians under those tarps and stuff like that, and what is going to happen to them when burning plastic rains down upon them?
It's the Vietnam picture, dude. It's the Vietnam picture of the little girl.
Exactly, right? Yeah, and it's like,
so somebody had a sanity check on that one.
Yeah, you got some little kids running out from under, covered in melted plastic, right? With their skins melting off. Nobody wants that on the Washington Post. So, common sense prevailed, but to this day, that drone still exists and it still flies around every once in a while, just, spouting flames. So yeah, you should absolutely get a drone. You should absolutely put a flamethrower on it. I've been looking at the flamethrowers, not a drone one, but I've just been looking at flamethrowers in general. And it's like, dude, you can buy them. Like, you can buy them, like PSA, Palmetto State Armory sells them, stuff like that. And it's like, I kind of need like I kind of need one.
I was trying to get my daughter to buy me one for Christmas because there's some cool ones out there, dude. Like they shoot
Yeah,
flames 30 feet or more, dude. I gotta have
dude.
it. And it's
I would, you imagine like think about flamethrowers in World War II, right? Especially in the Pacific. You got some Marine out there with just, I mean, he's got that wheelbarrow that he's got to roll in front of him to carry his 30-pound brass, what's, because he's got gas strapped to his back, right? And he's got a stick that shoots fire. And it's like, hey, man, you're going to rust that pillbox and you're going to burn everybody in there. It's just like, I mean, just knowing that, like, hey, man, if this thing on my back gets hit, like, that's a wrap.
yeah, because it's that highly, highly flammable, like diesel fuel type stuff where it's like a stream of, it's not like gas. Like the flamethrowers we're talking about that you can buy now, it's like gas. It's going to shoot out, it's a little thicker than average. But this stuff was like heavy, like
it was like
diesel
almost
type
gel. It was almost napalmish.
Yes.
Right? It was almost gelatinous.
I love what George Carlin said about flamethrowers. It's like, who came up with this idea? Huh. I'm over here. Those guys are 180 feet over here. I need to be able to kill them with fire from here. How do we make this happen?
And then you had the tanks that had the flamethrowers on
God
too. You're like, dude. And then of course, the Geneva Convention got involved and was like, we can't set people on fire. I think that's what started the downfall of American society.
They ruined everything, man. The Geneva Convention, yeah, I'll tell you.
They got rid of flamethrowers and not the Geneva Convention, but we eventually got rid of lawn darts, and it was just
Dude, we used to play with lawn darts, man. It's amazing. Like I remember my next door neighbor I think we might have had a set of lawn darts throwing around in the park right in front of our house. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
You're like, it was like, what's the Adam Sandler movie? That they got it's Adam Sandler. It's all the usual suspects, David Spade. Everybody, they were like, all right, they shoot the bow and arrow in the air, and it's like whoever runs first, whoever's left standing wins. It was the same thing with the lawn darts. You're like, all right, we throw it up. Hey, whoever runs, you lose. Whoever stays still, you win. And you're just like, you look back on that, you're like, would I let my kids do that today? No. I'd be like,
that's absolutely. Why the 80s were wild, man. Early 80s were wild, kid. Dang.
Dude, jump in your little bike over, like, have a couple of your friends lay down and be like, I'm going to jump over you my bike. You're like, oh, yeah, that sounds cool. Let's do it. You're like, now you're like, man, that was. But that goes back to my thing. Like I was talking about, you don't see kids in cast anymore.
No.
But not that I want my kids out there breaking bones. I mean, our daughter, she broke her ankle. Our oldest daughter broke her elbow in gymnastics and stuff. I don't want to see my kids in cat, but like, you just don't. I don't want to get going and talk about how soft this generation is. But
it's, Gen X, man. I honestly think that Gen X is a very special, obviously, because I'm one of them. Very special generation. You talk about the new silent generation. You know what they labeled Gen X is the invisible generation.
Really?
John Cena. Yeah, because dude, nobody talks about Gen X. Look in the news and see the last time you saw Gen X. It's boomers, millennials, and Gen Z. It's like Gen X never happened, which is kind of cool. It's actually kind of cool because that's how it was. Our parents, our parents loved us, of course, but we also, during the summer, would go out riding our bikes, 5 miles in every direction. And that was a long way back then. My parents didn't know where we were. And you'd just be home by supper. You were in trouble if you weren't home by supper. But it's like we were on our own, kind of invisible. Our parents loved us, but they also trusted us, or they didn't care. Deep down, they really didn't care. But yeah, it was. So I'm cool with being invisible. Kind of liked it, man. Actually,
yeah,
I love being on my own. I love that independence. Miss it.
Yeah, Gen X, no, Gen X, okay. And we were also we were also the first generation to grow up without technology, right? Without the internet up to a certain point. So we have, we know what it's like before the internet and we know what it's like after, right? The internet, um, and everybody, after us, obviously millennials, Z and everybody, like they just grew up with it. Yeah, it was, I don't know, we got the best of both worlds.
Yeah,
In
I
a
think
lot,
so.
a
I
lot of
think
ways.
we've talked about the cultural high water marks and stuff like that, and that I think we unfortunately probably lived through it. Um,
Oh
I
yeah,
think grunge signaled the beginning of the end, man. It was the best thing and the
yeah,
worst thing to happen to culture.
yeah.
You
I
remember the
blame
first
Turkey
time?
Day.
Do you remember the first time you heard a Nirvana song?
I don't remember the first time. I remember the song. It was, it smelled, Teen Spirit.
Teen Spirit, yeah.
Um, and I remember the first time I heard it, I was just kind of like, what is that? Because, I either listen to like country or Guns N' Roses, right? That was what the Nirvana thing came in. And I was like, what is that crap? Or I listen to rap,
Yeah.
uh, like old school, like, Run DMC and, stuff. But yeah, the whole grunge thing, as soon as I saw the grunge kids in high school, like it became they became the grunge kids group. I was like, dude, this is all bad. Like, it's all bad.
Yeah. I missed because grunge, like Teen Spirit, it smells like Teen Spirit. It made it come out early. It made it come out in '91, but I didn't actually hear it. It didn't get on the radio till '92. In '92 is when I graduated. So it's like it wasn't really a thing in high school. Grunge wasn't. In college, kind of didn't notice, didn't really care. I did like the music. Um, it's just I didn't see a lot of that grunge movement in high school. It was
Yeah.
different.
Like I graduated in 5, so 92. Like I got the 3 years, left of high school, and I saw it. Right, and it was and it was whatever. Like nobody really cared, but it was just like you're bragging about like not showering, and you're like, I've worn my jeans for 9 months and haven't washed them.
Ew.
It's like I wouldn't brag about like I wouldn't brag about that. Like I really wouldn't. And it was like, people started doing the dreads, right? It was like,
Mm.
dude, when white people do dreads, they don't wash their hair, and
Well,
it's gross. It's just gross. Like I'm sorry, it is what it is. It's gross. But it was it was like not the not shaving thing, no deodorant. It was just like they went all in. And you're just looking at it and you're like, you don't have to be the Vineyard Vines, polos and penny loafer crew. But damn, man, put on some deodorant and take a shower. Like,
I actually don't mind the grunge clothing style. I don't mind it at all. It's like what you're saying. It's the hygiene
yeah,
that's not
yeah,
behind it. The first year I was in college, I went to community college, Amarillo College, and there was a girl a little bit older than me. And when I was in middle school, she was in high school, and she was real cool. Like she was a cool girl, older, whatever. And she kind of took me under her wing. I had a couple classes with her at the college, but she was grunge before there was grunge, bro. Like this was a don't shave my underarms kind of girl. So yeah, she was cool though, believe it or not.
yeah.
So she comes into class, it's biology class. She comes into class and her hair looks different. And I'm like, what's up with your hair? And she goes, oh, I'm going to do dreadlocks. I was like, what's dreadlocks? And she told me and showed me how you get dreadlocks. Dude, it's freaking disgusting. Like you said, it's beyond not washing your hair. It's about getting it all knotty, and you've got to actually go to effort. That's why when I see someone with like real dreadlocks, a non-black person with dreadlocks, a non-Jamaican black person, I'm like, what statement are you trying to make here? Are you, because you went to a lot of effort to, make your hair like this. It's a fashion statement. It's all it is, just like everything else, but it's whatever. Dreadlocks are disgusting. It's gross.
Yeah. 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 I didn't care for the grunge movement, but it was definitely the beginning of the end. Because all those kids, all those grunge kids, turned into Occupy Wall Street kids.
Yeah.
Every single one of them.
Do you think Ghislaine Maxwell was into the grunge movement?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Well, let's talk about it, because I'm starting to side with you on this thing, with respect to the midterms, because the way this is being handled right now with the Epstein thing could possibly be the worst way you could handle something like this. And I don't know what everyone's thinking. It's why I'm just like, my patience, I talked in the last podcast, I was like, I'm going to be patient, and see where this is going, because they can't be this bad. And my patience is wearing thin. And I'm like, where can this go? If you look at normies, like I think honestly, last week or last time we recorded, I don't think normies were tracking this. Now, this week, they are tracking it, because the Democrats are doing a really good job. This is becoming an 80-20 issue. Normies are paying attention. Normies don't care that the actual Epstein list was actually released already, during the Biden administration. But they're like, wait, no, the list hasn't been released. Release the list. They're talking about the file. They think they're saying the list, but what everyone's really talking about is the files and all this stuff. I want to believe, Josh, that there's a grander plan to this, not 4D chess, but like a grander plan to prosecute. And we're holding this stuff back because we're building a case. But I'm having a hard time making sense of all this. It just, a lot of this doesn't make sense to me, how it's being handled.
So today I was trying to think, I was like, what are some incidents in our, in history that where the messaging was handled, we're talking like epically bad. Like what are some of those incidents, and where it's like the messaging on this was handled in the worst imaginable way possible? Whatever that incident is, this Epstein stuff is being handled 100 times worse than that was. Whatever that thing is. Like, it is so bad, because it is, we're going to release, the Epstein file. We're going to get to the bottom of it. Right. And, the AG's like, I got the list, I got the list on my desk. Right. They got the files, and there's some semantics in there, right? I get it. And some people have figured that piece out. Some people have not figured that piece out, right? It's like, okay, I have the files on my desk, or have the list on the desk, because those are two very different things, right?
And the videos.
Yeah, and the videos.
Thousands of hours of videos.
Yeah, there's thousands of hours of videos. It's like, okay. And so all these things, right? So all these things exist, and then you have the whole, Trapper Keeper Club coming out of the White House, holding those things up for the press. And you're like, oh, snap, like it's happening. Like, they gave them to social media influencers. Like, they learned something, right? It goes back to like, man, when Elon, brought in Matt Taibbi and, Schellenberger, you're like, oh, man, they're hey, this is going to be good. And then you come to find out, it's like, there was nothing in there that hadn't already been released. And you're like, that's a little disappointing. And then it was, hey, I got them on my desk. Right, we're going to get to the bottom of it. And then that has gone from, let's see, what are the messages, the narratives we've gone through in the last week? There never was a list to, it's a Comey and Obama generated hoax. And this is coming from the president, right? This is coming from Roger's boy. To where it's a, Obama and Comey hoax to, now they're talking about, he literally said that he was thinking about appointing a special counsel to review the files. And you're like, well, you just said it was a hoax. Then you said it didn't exist at all. Right. Then you said there is no list. Then you said the files are, quote, boring and there's nothing there. And now you're talking about, is that like, could not be handled in a worse way when it comes to the messaging. Could not. And he's keeping it in the news cycle, right? If it was just to go away, right, and something else happened, it's going to get replaced. But he comments on it every day, and he brings it back to the surface. And now it took him a couple of days, but the Democrats figured out, they're like, oh, hold on, but we can never let anything like this go to waste. They held that vote. It was a procedural vote in the House. I come to find out, I found out later, it was just a procedural vote. There was no releasing any files or anything like that. But what did it look like? What was the messaging? What was the optic? That Republicans voted to block the release of the Epstein files in the House. And you're like, this is bad. Like, this is epically bad. And I don't know how they do it like this bad. Like, how do you F something up like this bad? It's insane.
That's my problem, is like any possible explanation. Okay. Let's take the different scenarios that this could actually be. Right. Okay. So one scenario is worst case scenario, where every major, or not every major, a lot of major world leaders, Trump, Clinton, everybody's implicated in this thing. Okay. So they're not going to release it. They're scared. The messaging is still bad. Just lie.
Yes.
Just lie. Yeah. Get Clinton on your side on this one. If we're all going down, let's all lie together. And we can do a better job than this, because a better job has been done in the past, right? So that's the worst case scenario. Everybody's implicated. It's all bad. Next scenario. This was a CIA Mossad joint op. Messaging's still horrible. Why are you doing it like this? Now, I tend to, you know what my philosophy on a lot of things is, everybody knows by this time, is Occam's razor, combined with what I call the Paul corollary, a guy I knew named Paul. And it all boils down to never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence, right? So let's just say that, Epstein obviously trafficked in minors, but when people say trafficking minors, they usually think 7-year-old girls, okay? Well, judging by, everything we've seen, the evidence I've seen so far is, yes, they were minors, but they were probably 16, 17 years old, whatever. Yep. Still illegal, still horrible, still all that stuff, but it's not like they were trafficking in 7-year-olds, okay? So the simplest explanation is he was trafficking somebody. He got arrested for that. He actually did some time for that. Then the case resurfaced. It became a big deal. Maybe Epstein was just into younger looking girls, still horrible, still disgusting, horrible, whatever. And he was also into child porn, and he had that on his computer. And that's what all the files are, is his stupid, videos from the house with 17-year-olds and some nasty stuff he was into on the side. And no one's really implicated except for Prince Andrew, who Virginia Jeffrey is now dead under crazy circumstances. And he's been, for all intents and purposes, pardoned. So let's say not many people are implicated. Even Bill Gates, which I have a hard time believing Bill Gates is not implicated in this.
Yeah.
The simplest, but again, my point is the simplest explanation, where there is no grand conspiracy here. This was just a pervert who brought perverts to his island. There weren't just 16, 17-year-old girls there. There were also high-end hookers there. There's no there, right? They're still handling it wrong.
Yeah.
Even if that's the case. And it's like, I learned today, Josh, you talk about the Trapper Keeper crew, the ones that came out of the White House with the big binders. I learned today they were actually ambushed, believe it or not. That was not supposed to happen. I didn't know that until today. There were camera crews there to record some dignitary that was visiting, that was going to come out later. And all these people come out holding binders, and they started the cameras, and everybody started holding up the binders. They hadn't had a chance to look at it yet, because Cernovich, the guy who blocked C3, he actually read through it after that, because he was one of those people. And he was like, this is BS. This is nothing. This is a big nothing burger. There's nothing here. And he passed that to Tim Pool, and he was like, there's nothing here. So this has been a comedy of errors. And I'm with you. I'm sitting here trying to rack my brain on the messaging of stuff. And I just can't think of anything that's handled worse. And I can't, gosh, there's so many other important things going on right now. that this is like a fly in the face of life for me. But where it goes beyond a fly in the face of life, just get out of here. It's like you are handling this so poorly. There are so many good things going on right now. The traffic in LA is better. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, the push for energy and AI is really going in the direction I like. I think we're on the edge of a renaissance, and we got to deal with this BS. Come on, like Stephen Miller, get involved in this, get your arms around this, and do something, because no matter how you cut it, this is handled so poorly. It's awful. It's a disgrace. I'm gonna say it.
Dude, there are. Well, I was going to say that like there's people on day one of like public affairs officer school that could do a better job of this. There are people who have zero training in public affairs, in communication and messaging that would handle it better than they are handling it. It's like how can you be this incompetent? Like it's atrocious. It is absolutely atrocious. And I don't understand it. The one good thing, other than the other day when I showed up and rated that all of those poor people working at that quota, and I'm throwing up air quotes here, right? Strawberry farm, right? Where the strawberry plants looked a lot like pot plants, right? They looked like weed because they had kids out there harvesting it. One thing because nobody's really talking about other than that, like nobody's really talking about. I haven't seen a whole lot about ice in the last couple days, minus that. I guess at the end, they're taking some of the heat off ice, but at the end of the day, it's like, dude, you don't want that to be taken off. You want to amplify that messaging. Right. You want to amplify like, hey, we're deporting people. Like we're getting them out. It's like, oh, look at this family. CNN did a thing on some family. I saw it on X where this family self-deported today. They packed up all their shit and they left. They went back and they self-deported. And you're like, and of course they put it, they couched it as like, oh, this is terrible. It's like, you see all the like conservative, people are like, bye. Don't come back. So yeah, I don't know, but it's staying in the news cycle, and I'm telling you right now, it's going to be an issue in the midterms. It's going to be an issue in the midterms.
Unless they can turn this around somehow. I don't put it past Trump to be able to turn it around. But like you were saying, dude, there's been too many pivots. And there are very, well, okay. Worse. What's a bad thing they could do? A bad thing they could do that they didn't do is when all this is coming out, just don't say anything about it. And people would be like, oh, they're not saying anything about it. That would be better than what they're doing now. Just don't say anything.
His true social post today. Yeah, no comment. His true social post today was, I think I was like, okay, he's jumped the shark on it. Right. Because, basically, for those of you who may not have seen it, is, basically he was like, basically the people still talking about Epstein are my former supporters. Like, I don't support them. I don't want them supporting me.
God.
He's like, F them. And it's like, hey, man, like I voted for you 3 times. I like a lot of the things you've done, but this is one of those things that I voted for you for. And you're effing it up. And, I wish Roger was here.
I do too.
So I'm gonna talk about, because Roger's gonna listen to this, but he's gonna fume. He's gonna be like, don't talk about. He's gonna be like Marlon Brando in The Godfather. He's gonna be like, look how they massacred my boy. Talking denigrating Trump.
So let me ask you this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, like, man, I voted for him 3 times. If he ran, if he was able to run again, I'd vote for him again. But when you come out today and you tell me that you don't want me to support you because, hey, I just kind of want the people who hurt kids to be held accountable. Really? You don't want me to support you because I think that that's not helpful, right? It's going to hurt you in the midterms, and you know who else is going to hurt potentially? It's going to hurt JD Vance in 2028.
Yeah, and JD Vance has been kind of quiet, which is a good move.
Yeah, smart. Very smart.
I heard some rumors before I was going to ask you something. Oh yeah. Okay. So I heard some rumors. You guys might have put it in the chat. One of you guys is that Pam Bondi is going to get fired and Ron DeSantis is going to take her place. I think that'd be a good move at this point. Shake things up if Ron would be willing to take it. But that's not what I was going to ask you. I just thought that was interesting when there were, rumblings about that. And which kind of leads into my next question is, so Dan Bongino, okay. I do think he's a good man. I really do. He's not my cup of tea, but I do think he's a true believer. He was Secret Service and what else? NYPD cop or something? Something.
I don't know. I don't know what he was before Secret Service. I know he was Secret Service. I don't know if he had.
He has another background. It wasn't just Secret Service, his other stuff too. And I think he is a true believer. And all that stuff. We could go down so many rabbit holes. And it's too bad we don't do the Joe Rogan style where we go for 3 or 4 hours because put a pin in Secret Service, okay, please.
Yeah.
But he seems like a true believer kind of guy, which leads me why do you think that he was so upset last week and didn't come into work on Friday? And it's like, people are like, he's going to quit. Why? Because it's handled so poorly, or?
I think so. I think it's part of that. And I think, I think he wants, because he, dude, he spent a lot of time on this on his own podcast. He spent a lot of time talking about this very thing, about, Epstein and, prominent government officials and, people need to be held accountable and, this, that, and the other. And then he becomes, deputy director. And all of a sudden the attorney general's like, yeah, no, there's, it really doesn't exist. And, we're just going to move on from it. So I think it's part of the messaging. And I think, and it's conjecture on my part, and, again, I could be completely wrong, but I think he had his moment to where a lot of the things that he believed, that he held very deeply, some deep beliefs, I think it was revealed to him that, hey man, guess what? The other side doesn't care about you either. I think that really, that moment hit him. It's like when we figured out, right? Think about that moment when you really figured out that Iraq was not what we were sold, right? When when you see that and you realize like some things that I held very deeply, like some of my core beliefs turned out not to be true, right? It's like, it's, akin to Braveheart, when he knocks Robert the Bruce's helmet off of him and he sees that he's been betrayed, right, by, quote unquote, his, one of his closest friends. I think Bongino, something happened. And I think Bongino had that moment. And that's what I think.
So who's going to be the fall person? I think it's going to be Bondi.
Oh, it's going to be
somebody's going to have to go down, dude.
It's going to be Bondi. It's not going to be, because again, it's not going to be, because the only other people that could fall for it would be Trump. He's not going to. That's not going to happen. It's going to be Bondi. It's not going to be Cash or Bongino, because they're at the FBI. They ain't got a control over that. That is a DOJ thing. It's got to be Bondi.
Honestly, here's my okay. I know how you feel about this. I feel the same way. I don't. It's disgusting that we're not following up on minors being taken advantage of. Disgusting. But for the sake of the Republic, I think a bigger fish to fry is figuring out exactly what the hell happened with Thomas Crooks and that other crazy dude who tried to assassinate the president. Where are we on that? Like, look, man, hey, emotion is a strong thing. And when, you talked about it, when we talked about the fawn, it's like, as men, we want to protect things. And when we hear sex trafficking of minors, everyone's mind goes to the 7-year-old girl, right?
Yep.
So, emotional response. But if you're talking about for the sake of the Republic and what the hell is actually going on, I'm more interested in the assassination attempts. I really, really am. And I'm actually kind of outraged that we haven't heard anything about that. And it's like, all of this stuff. And man, I don't think any one of the three of us is really conspiracy theorists. But you put all this Thomas Crooks thing stuff, it just doesn't smell right.
No,
Now, Trump, you going to call that a hoax too? Why are you not more upset about that? Like, why? I mean, what's going on with that?
I don't know. And I've seen, because it was the anniversary was just,
Yeah, it was last week or
yeah, I was about to say it was just here
a couple
recently.
days ago, something.
Because didn't he go back to Butler
I don't
or
know.
something? I don't. Anyway, but yeah, because I saw some of the stuff popping up, and it was like, a picture of Thomas Crooks, and it was like, so what about this guy? And we still don't know anything about him. We said that stuff got erased quick. Like the FBI took his body, they cremated it. Like, I mean, all of that stuff got dealt with quick, and and then it was the whole like, when you get to the point of why there wasn't a cat team back up on that route to begin with, or yeah, it's nobody knows about that, right? And so again, if I had to prioritize, I think we could do multiple things at once, but if I had to prioritize things, me personally, it would be Russiagate, assassination attempts, and then Epstein, right? Now, as far as like, that stuff goes, while, ICE churns in the background, deporting as many people as they can with their, double budget. But the whole Russiagate thing, right? And then I hate this, because they were like, oh, they're going to subpoena, Comey and Clapper and Brennan and drag them before Congress. That's why I was like, I don't care. Like, I don't care. I want to see indictments. I want to see indictments, and I want to see people in court. That's what I want to see. Testifying before Congress. All you got to do is walk in there and pull Biden's doctor and be like, yeah, I invoke the Fifth Amendment. Done. All right, yeah, I'm going to do this for the whole, any question you ask me, I'm invoking the Fifth Amendment. They're like, all right, well, get out of here. And that's it.
Ooh.
I want to see indictments.
You know what I would place above? I agree with you, those three. I would personally, I would put the assassination above Russiagate. But what I would put just below assassination is the COVID shit. Because I honestly believe, I've said, I'm not going to say it again about the AI stuff escaping a lab in China, because y'all all know how I feel about that. Foot stop. We should be at war with China right now. The world should be at war with China right now over what happened. And I honestly believe that. If there ever was a reason to go to war, that was it. And to think that our own CDC had a hand in that, it's like, dude, I don't want to just see indictments. I want to see people hanging from ropes. And I'm not even joking with that, because that was catastrophic. Because now we're going to get banned from YouTube, and Roger will have the last laugh, because the YouTube world won't hear us smashing on Trump. But yeah, if there was ever a reason to go to war, that was it. And, dude, think about this. COVID was it was deadly for a certain population, for sure.
Oh yeah.
But think if it would have been, what was the big one? The Spanish flu. Think if it would have been like that, and it would have decimated, literally decimated, which means you take out 1/10 of the population. It would have decimated the earth. I mean, it could have been worse, is my point. China cannot be trusted to safeguard things like that. Therefore, we're going to put sanctions on you. You're not going to abide by the sanctions. Okay, we're going to Iraq your ass. That's what's going to happen. If there ever was a justification for a war, that was it. Because they're going to do it again, and it's going to be worse next time. It ain't going to be COVID. It's going to be some sort of AI is what's going to happen, dude. And it's like, I want to see people hanging for that. And we were involved in that. Our tax dollars went toward that with the gain of function research.
Yeah.
And now with the auto pin, the auto pin thing where, now Fauci can't be prosecuted, but Rand Paul is coming out and being like, no, let's take another look. I'm actually not against that. I think that is not a waste of time. But again, I'm not a normie, so whatever. COVID's in the past, Luke. What do you care? Why are you guys still talking about it?
No,
It's freaking
no,
awful.
I'm not against that at all. And I think absolutely people have to be held accountable, for that. A lot of folks for a lot of reasons, right? Not just the gain of function research. Did you see real quick on the auto pen thing? They issued the documents of like, all right, we're starting this investigation. Auto pen. They used DocuSign.
Oh.
Some staffer signed the documents to start the investigation using DocuSign, and you're just like, again. You remember when they impeached Trump and they made this big, huge ordeal, and they did like this walk, the impeachment papers, from the House over to the Senate. And they overdid it. It was like this, it was like a parade of the left, walking the papers over. It's like, you got to have something like, dude, show somebody sitting at a desk signing those documents, starting the investigation, right? It's like, oh, the DocuSign, right? The auto pen, like that's not meant to be abused. That's for by exception, blah, blah, right? And they're using, pick a historic pen to do it with whatever. No, they had some staffer use DocuSign. You're like, you guys are really bad at this. Like, you're just really bad at it. It's all about optics. And it just...
I think we used to be better. So there was I know this is going to sound like a change of subject. I do want to get to the philosophical question. This is going to sound like a change of subject, but it's kind of in line with what we're talking about. There was a biography written about Belushi. And Bill Murray was on, because Bill Murray was his best friend, was Belushi's best friend back in the day. And Bill Murray was on Rogan, and Joe Rogan was asking him about that biography. Bill Murray said he got 10 pages into the biography, closed it, and he goes, "Oh, well, they set up Nixon." And when you look at Watergate and all that stuff, and like really delve into Watergate, Nixon was probably set up. He was probably set up. He ordered it, but there were agents sent in to like plant that idea in his head. He did not know where it was going to go. Dude, they set him up. I did not realize how popular Richard Nixon was when he was actually president. He's one of the most popular presidents that's ever been, ever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I guess I'm teetering on deep state here. Maybe, I don't know. It's not the simplest explanation, but dude, when we're talking about Thomas Crooks and COVID, Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein and the Russiagate, it's like, it's really becoming the simplest explanation that there is a coordinated effort to maintain power with bureaucrats. It just seems like that's the case, going all the way back to JFK and possibly before that. Like, dude, have you really looked into Smedley Butler, War is a Racket? Have you read about General Butler at all? Did you know he won 2 Medals of Honor? 2.
No.
I tell you, Josh, and the rest of the audience, read up on Smedley Butler and some of the stuff that went on in that guy's life. A movie should be made out of that. I'm
writing his name down now.
There was a planned coup that he blew the lid off of, called the business coup or something like that, where a bunch of huge business leaders back in the day between World War I and World War II had a plan to overthrow the government. And this was after the veterans coup or the veterans riot after World War I in DC. You know about that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember that. It was
Butler,
the bonus army.
The bonus army. That's what it was. So after the bonus army thing happened, dude, just read up on Smedley Butler and how he blew the lid off a coup. There was a whole congressional investigation. New York Times, the media dragged Smedley Butler and said, this never happened. He's just a conspiracy theorist. And meanwhile, the congressional committee that heard that said, well, we can't prove he's not wrong. And it certainly looked like there was some plan in place to overthrow the government. What the fuck? Read into it, dude. That's
All
some
right,
deep
I'll
state
check it out.
stuff going back to pre-World War II. It's
I'll
like,
check it out.
dude, yeah, check it out.
Here's the thing, right? And it goes back. Two things. You know who the officers were that went out there and cleared the National Mall from the bonus
Yeah,
armor?
it's freaking MacArthur on
It was
horseback.
MacArthur, and guess who else? Eisenhower.
Really?
Eisenhower was MacArthur's aide at the time.
Wow. I didn't. Yeah, what I read, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
They
yeah. So
and
yeah, it was
you
MacArthur
guys
and
laugh at
Eisenhower.
me when I say they're going to take away our VA benefits.
No, they
Yeesh.
will. They'll do it. Two of the most decorated general officers, in our history. They were the ones that went out there, set fire to the vets' homes, little camp, and kicked them off the ball.
Clearing an encampment that was supported by a general officer who won 2 Medals of Honor. Now, I don't know how many people have won 2 Medals of Honor.
Yeah, I don't either.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Crazy, bro.
So it goes back, right? So it's like, I talk about when I give the brief. It's like, so what is the party's number one priority? What is the CCP's number one priority? What is Putin's number one priority? What is Kim Jong-un's number one priority, right? What is the North Korean, the council, right? What is their number one priority? Stay in power, right? Their number two priority, see number one, keep the party in power. And so, people be like, well, Josh, compare the United States to communist China. Be like, well, tell you what, people want to go to Congress and people want to get involved in politics for generally one reason: power. Right? That might not be your primary reason, but that is there because you want the power of that office that comes with that. Right? And once you get power and you're there for a long time, you're entrenched, you're not letting go of that power. Right? You're not going to let go of that power willingly. Because you ever watch House of Cards?
I watched the first 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah. Remember, I don't know if you remember, when he's talking about, he's like, power. I don't, he's talking kind of like president. He's like, I don't want to be president. He's like, because you're not there for that long. He's like, I can stay in DC. He's like, he starts talking about like these houses, right? We kind of mentioned it earlier, like the Northern Virginia McMansions that they build in a couple of months. He's like, that's not power. He's like, that's wealth. He's like, you can have a mansion, you can be wealthy. He's like, that old stone house. He's like, that's power. And there are people who do not want to give up power, and you see, speaking of, you brought up JFK. Did you see Anna Paulina Luna, whatever her name is? She's working on the JFK, declassification task force. And she's like, well, we're seeing some really strong connections. I was like, yeah, C3 told you that years ago. Like you might want to, there was this thing called the Church Commission. And oh, by the way, if you just read a couple books, you can read between the lines if you know what you're reading, right? And it goes back to, like we said, it was like Angleton. Why is a blue blood like Angleton associated and actually physically met with and had conversations with and hung out with somebody like Lee Harvey Oswald? You cannot tell me, right? That's like the speaker of the, House or the pro temp of the Senate. Like, what's he doing hanging out with Josh? Right? That doesn't make sense. Right. So it was like, well, we told you that years ago. And she's like, well, we're really looking into this and we're going to get to the bottom of this. It's like, shut up. Just release all the files. Unredacted. What's left of them. Right. It's just, I do not believe for a second that whoever the president is of the United States, whether it's Biden, Obama, Bush, Trump, whoever, are the ones that are actually in power. They are not the ones that are making the decisions because because it's akin to, we saw it all the time in the military. New commander comes in, you don't like him. Guess what? What did the staff do? I'm just going to wait him out. Yeah. Because he or she's going to be gone in 18 months. Let's just wait him out.
And when it comes to, they do have a measure of power as
Sure.
long as they're not messing with anyone else's rice bowl, right?
Exactly.
And, you know, so like, yeah, I think they have a measure of power as long as it's not infringing on whatever rice bowl and whatever, it is what it is. Oh, let me tell this story real quick. So you saw that 1,300 State Department employees were let go. Did you see that?
It was glorious. Yeah.
Oh man. And I'm like watching the video and these people are leaving and everyone's gathered in the foyer, the big giant foyer, clapping at them. And I'm like, how would I feel if I was being fired and everyone's clapping as I'm walking out? It's awkward. It's like, what am I supposed to feel from this? You honor me, whatever. I would be like, if I got fired, I just want to walk out. Fired like that, I just want to walk out.
I'd go out the back door.
Yeah, dude, whatever. And then they put the signs up. If you remain, your duty is to fight fascism. What the fuck?
They gave him the red dot, dad like, avenge me. Man. So dumb.
Pathetic. And it's like, and you wonder why you were let go, you dumb idiot. So you big dummy. So, but I happen to know a State Department employee whom I worked with got let go. And I'll just say it couldn't have happened to a better person. This person was ineffectual, arrogant, did not get anything done. Just a horrible person. He and whatever. I don't want to get too specific. It doesn't matter. He and his wife were at one of the Marine Corps birthday parties. They stood in the corner. This guy was so arrogant. They stood in the corner, and you can tell body language, dude. That's what we do. We read body language. And he and his wife were standing in the corner having their little drinks, basically making fun of everyone that was there. The Marines, the DOD people, just like kind of sniggering, like pointing and sniggering. It's like, you know what? I'm glad you got fired, bro. I'm totally happy you got fired. Because you don't need to be representing our nation. You definitely don't need to be swearing an oath to our Constitution. You think you understand, but you don't. That was just, I don't wish ill on anyone. Well, not anyone. I don't wish ill on many people. But on that one, I think he got what he deserved. I really do. I don't care. No. See you on the bread lines, brother.
That's right. You'll be on the bread line by Monday.
Green Mile. That's two.
Well, Green Mile and the Highwaymen.
Yeah,
they'll be on the bread line by Monday. It's the whole State Department Foggy Bottom crew. You try and look back, and I look back, and we give a lot of grief to certain agencies and certain organizations and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, I've worked with, and we all have worked with some good people and some bad people, right? From each of those, agencies and organizations. Well, I look back and I try to go back through my mental Rolodex on people from State Department that I've worked with. I can't think of one that was positive. I can't think of one that I was like, they had their stuff together, man. That's a solid person right there. And, glad that they're on our side. Not one.
I'm going to give a shout out to two people, not that anybody listens, but two State Department people, actual State Department, not appointees, not appointees. There was an ambassador in Slovenia, Brett Hartley. I don't know what his politics are, and that's a good thing. He was a career diplomat.
It's a good thing.
It's a good thing. I didn't know what his politics were. He was a good man. He was a frugal man. He didn't flout anything. He didn't seem to be care about it. He didn't care about power. He cared about the U.S. and the foreign policy. And the guy who filled in for him when Brett left was the deputy chief of mission, who's now an ambassador, I can't remember where, named Gautam Rana, Indian gentleman, who was, had the disease when he was a kid where it kind of lost the, use of his legs, so he had to have crutches and stuff.
Dystrophy, muscular dystrophy.
He's something like that, yeah. But
The
this
Forrest
guy,
Gump?
yeah, kind of, but whatever.
Okay.
So good dude, and he was a scoliosis, yeah, something like that.
Scoliosis, yeah.
But I could tell his politics. He was left leaning, but he served as acting, as charge d'affaires during the Trump administration. I know he didn't agree with Trump, but you know what he did do? He supported his foreign policy because he got up in front of a group of Slovenians on July 4th, gave a speech about how all these European countries need to be giving their fair share to collective defense. Maybe he didn't agree with that deep down, but he got up there and said it because that's what he was told to say. And it's like, dude, it wasn't illegal what he was doing, just following orders. It's not like that. It's like that is what a diplomat is supposed to do. Support the foreign policy of your boss, who is the president of the United States. So I've met two of all of them. Two. Not good.
No,
not a good record.
No, those are not good. Those are not good odds. That's not a good batting average. When you think about how many folks we've dealt with and met, and it's another one of those things. Like, we talk about the power, and we talk about the deep state, and we talk about this and that, dude. That is why you saw the thrashing, the gnashing of the teeth about USAID getting shut down. If you guys out there listen, one, after you follow C3 on X, you need to follow an account called Data Republican. Data Republican, goes through and does the deep dives on a lot of this stuff. And she posted a bunch of stuff about USAID, and again, follow the money, where a lot of this taxpayer money, our money, my money, your money, Luke's, right, everybody's money, went from USAID to Country X, right? Went to these different, NGOs and foundations, and then turned around and saw those NGOs and these foundations donate back to certain people's campaigns, right? And she laid it all out. It's all documented. Data Republican on X. I don't know if she's on any other social media platforms, but she's definitely on X. But she laid it all out, and it was good. And you know what? Some people picked up on it. Some people talked about it, but it went away pretty quick, right? And just think about that. That's how people are lining their coffers. USAID was a massive, one, money laundering scheme for elected officials, and two, it was a front for the CIA. The CIA leveraged them left and right. They work very closely together. All right, I saw that with my own eyes. So there you have it. We've got like 2 minutes. You're muted.
So real quick, you did. I know, right? This is horrible. Roger's gonna be like, "See, I'm the only professional. You guys need to record it." So real quick, as we're closing down here, can you give us? You didn't ask the philosophical question? Could you give us?
No, dude, we never got to it.
Could you give us a hint so I can at least think about it, so I don't have to answer on the fly?
Yeah. So think about it for the next episode. All right, because I asked Roger the same one, right? So I was listening to Dan Carlin. I'm going to try to get through this quick. So I was listening to Dan Carlin, even though I don't care for his politics. I think he does great podcasts, right? And so he asked this question. He's like, what if I asked you to get a piece of paper and something to write with and ask you to make a list of the things that you would be willing to die for, what would be on your list? Right?
It's a good question.
What would be on your list? Now, and he goes on, and I'll recouch it in the next episode and lay it out a little bit more. But he goes on, it's like, okay, you got that list. Okay, let's change the parameters of that. What would you be willing to lose everything for? Your life is a given, but talking about what would you be willing to risk your family being, killed, sold into slavery, right? Your lineage erased, from history. What would you be, what's worth that? Right. And so think about that. dive into it next episode. And yeah, that was going to be the philosophical question. It's like those old things where like, oh, if you had to write your obituary, what would it say?
Yeah,
Type
that's
stuff.
a good one. That's a good one because there are more parameters. I guarantee I'll inject in that. But yeah, it's a good one. So I'll do a quick shout out and close it out, dude. Darren, Robert, guys down in Florida, Josh's people. Thanks for listening. Really appreciate it. Darren's mad at us because we're putting out too many too quick. He says he doesn't have time to listen to them. So that means we're doing something right. But thanks for listening, Darren. And till next time, y'all. It's a good podcast. Just two of us. Wish Roger was here, but keep Canteen cups full and tightly secured. Peace.